There's a lot of debate in Tarkov when it comes to which guns are the best, which ones are worth using, and which ones just aren't even worth picking up. If you've been around the game long enough, you've heard things like, is this pistol better than that pistol? Which shotgun's the best? Is the RSAS better than the SR25? So I made a tier list with every gun in Tarkov based on how good or bad I think the guns are. And I should probably warn you guys, there's some pretty hot takes in here. Let's get into it. So this tier list is just a normal tier list. You know, we've got best guns overall. These are going to be what I think are the best guns in the game. Then we've got guns that I think are overrated. We've got a section for guns I think are underrated. This section here is for normal guns. This is going to be guns that are just kind of 50-50. In the next to last section, we've got the guns that I think are barely worth using. And then in the last section, we've got the worst guns in the game. Pretty simple stuff. And I feel like the best group of guns to start this off with is going to be assault rifles. These are all of your fully automatic assault rifles in Tarkov. We'll just kind of start up here on the top left with the Mark 47 Mutant. The Mutant shoots 7.62 ammo. It's a pretty good gun. It's kind of pricey, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't one of the best guns in Tarkov. Moving over to the M4 5.56A1, it's got a pretty fast fire rate. Some of the builds get a little expensive, but there's a lot of really good mid-tier builds for this gun and a lot of low-end builds and high-end builds. So just like the Mutant, I think it's got to go as one of the best guns in the game. This right here is going to be your RPK. This is 5.45. Little bit of a hot take here. There are a lot of 5.45 AK builds that can do the exact same thing as this RPK, and they can do it better for a lot cheaper. And honestly, the only thing I think the RPK has going for it is the 75 round magazine. So the RPK is going to be the first gun that we're going to put in the overrated category. Now we've got the G36. I'm throwing this straight in the normal guns, bro. G36 is just not that good, bro. There's not many attachments you can put on it. It's expensive to build. And in my honest opinion, it's just one of the normal 5.56 guns. I actually don't know that there are many 5.56 guns I would rather not use than the G36. Next, we've got the RD704. The RD is essentially just another Mutant. It's just got like 50 fire rate slower, but pretty much they're the same gun. They shoot the same caliber. Realistically, it's the same gun. It's just a cheaper Mutant. So it's going to go right up here beside the Mutant as one of the best guns in the game. And this is where the hot takes start. SA58, barely worth using, bro. I'm taking it straight to the bottom. The gun's expensive. By the time you kit it out, you could have just built something like an SR25 or something worth using. Sure, the SA58's got fully automatic fire, but if you've ever shot one, it goes through the ceiling, bro. The recoil's tough to control. It's just, I think it's time for Tarkov players to admit it's just not that good of a gun, bro. Next up, we've got the Ash 12. I'm sorry, it's overrated, dude. It's not one of the best guns in Tarkov. The absolute only thing holding this gun to a higher standard is the PS12B ammo. The recoil sucks. The fire rate sucks. The gun sucks. It just does. It just does. It's a fun gun to use. It kills extremely fast, but I'm not going to go out of my way to build one and use it raid after raid after raid. If you have one, it's a fun gun. If you heard that it's one of the best guns in Tarkov, somebody probably lied to you, bro. Next up, we've got the 7.62 MDR. Straight in, one of the best guns in Tarkov. The 7.62 MDR is extremely cheap to kit. It's easy to run. It's user-friendly. It shoots 7.62 by 51 ammo, one of the strongest ammos in the game. It's fully automatic or single fire. You can kind of run around with this thing like a little DMR. It's just a really, really, really good gun. And right behind it, we've got the 5.56 MDR. I think this is one of the best guns in Tarkov as well. The 5.56 MDR is extremely controllable. The ammo's a little worse than the 7.62 by 51, but on mid to close range fights, so maps like Interchange Reserve, I would almost rather have the 5.56 MDR just because of the recoil control. Next up, we've got the PKM. This is the new boss's gun, Kaban on streets. This is his LMG that you can loot. I have not personally used this gun, so I feel like what I'm about to say is a little bit of a hot take, but I have seen the gun used on YouTube and in videos, and already I think the gun is overrated. It shoots 7.62 by 54 ammo. It's essentially a fully automatic Mosin, which sounds cool in concept, but the recoil is absurd. Again, right here next to the Ash 12, I think it's one of those guns that's really fun to use, but not really an all-rounded weapon. It's kind of just for situational memes. So I'm going to stick it in overrated. I said what I said. Next up's the Val. Some of you guys didn't like that one. The Val, overrated. 100%. No questions asked. A good build for it's expensive. The parts for it are expensive. The ammo's expensive. The magazines are expensive. The build's not that great when you compare it to other meta builds. Again, like the Ash 12, the only thing it has going for it is it shoots really good ammo. But if we're talking about an all-rounded situation, the gun's just not that good, bro. So we're going to slide it in right here next to the Ash 12. Next up, we've got the 7.62 AK platforms, and I didn't put all the AKs on here. I just kind of, we're going to do a 7.62 and a 5.45, so I'm just kind of generalizing all 7.62 AKs. I think 7.62 AKs in Tarkov are extremely underrated. They're very good guns. Most people don't go for the 7.62 AKs because they're sitting there going for the RDs and the mutants and whatnot. 7.62 AK with a really good build on it is one of my favorite guns in the game. It's cheaper than an RD and a mutant, and it shoots almost just as well, and it's banging the same ammo. So therefore, I think it's highly underrated. And I'm going to say the same thing for the 5.45 AK. Again, one of my favorite guns in the game. The 5.45 AK is right next to the 7.62 for me. The builds are cheap, the parts are cheap, traders have most of the parts you need for it, and the ammo's pretty decent leading up into the end wipe. And again, it's got the recoil control going for it, and most players are pretty used to the AK platform since that's what you use for most of the early game of Tarkov. So yeah, I think both of these are really underrated guns. Next up, we've got the 7.62 Scar, and this is going straight into one of the best guns in Tarkov. I don't think there's really much of a debate on that. It's fully automatic, shoots 7.62 by 51 ammo, one of the strongest ammos in the game. Therefore, the Scar is one of the strongest guns in the game. Recoil is super easy to control, and the builds really aren't that expensive for it. And right after the 7.62 Scar, we've got the 5.56. I'm putting it right up here beside the 7.62 Scar. One of the best guns in Tarkov, one of my top 3 favorite guns in Tarkov right now. Although it's 5.56 with the recoil patch they did last wipe, this gun is a absolute laser beam. The 5.56 Scar, hands down, will outshoot any other 5.56 gun in the game. I'm serious. Go try it in your hideout for yourself. The recoil is literally like just straight up and down. That one recoil patch alone is the reason why this Scar is going in one of the top slots. And right here, we've got one of our 5.56 AKs. This is going to be shooting the same ammo that the 5.56 Scar and the M4 and all of that shoot. I think this gun's extremely underrated. 5.56 AK, again, one of my favorite guns in the game. I actually prefer it to the M4, but that's only because I've gotten used to it more than I've gotten used to the M4. The recoil is extremely easy to control, and just like all the other AKs, the builds for it are very, very cheap. And it gets downplayed a lot in the Tarkov community when it's a really good gun. So I'm not too sure what all that's about. Let's go ahead and talk about the AUG real quick. It's just not that good. I know there's a few players who really like the AUG and say that it does well for them, but in the grand scheme of Tarkov, the AUG has minimal modifications that you're able to do. You just really can't get the recoil down as low as you need it to be. And like the G36, it's one of those guns that you kind of just take it as it is, and you either like it or you don't. So with that being said, I think it's just a normal gun in the game. And most of the 5.56 guns in Tarkov are just better than it is. Next up is going to be the 5.56 HK. This gun right here, overrated. This gun is overrated for one reason, because it stands right alongside this gun. The HK is a more expensive M4. And quite honestly, I'm not too sure why people even run the HK over the M4. But if you shoot a meta HK next to a meta M4, the price difference is going to easily be a couple 100,000 rubles more, and the guns are going to perform pretty much the same. So yeah, without a doubt in my mind, the HK is an overrated gun in this game. Next up on the list is the AK-12. This is going to be the new 5.45 AK in the game. This one's got like single fire, burst mode, and fully automatic. I've only used this gun fully automatic and single fire, so I can't comment on the burst. The little bit I have used this gun in the few videos I've seen surrounding this gun, this is an underrated gun in Tarkov. I'm starting to notice a little trend with my AKs here. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. But anyways, the AK-12 is just a faster fire rate RPK. It's just as cheap as the other AKs to kit it out, and with it having that 50 extra fire rate over the RPK, I would have to say it's the best 5.45 gun in the game right now. So yeah, we're definitely keeping this one as underrated. Next up, we're going to talk about our semi-automatic rifles. These are going to be your Marksman Rifles and your DMRs. And the first one on the list is the RFB. RFB's going straight to underrated. It's stupid cheap, like 40,000 rubles for the gun, another 40,000 for a suppressor. Pretty much you can build the whole RFB for like 150,000 rubles. And you've got essentially what is a baby SR-25. The only difference between this gun and something like an RSAS or an SR-25 is the fact that you cannot put a laser on it. I use the RFB all the time, and it's just an extremely underrated gun in this game. Next up, we've got the 8R15. This is 5.56 single fire. I'm a little mixed on whether to put this as underrated or normal because some of the builds can be really good, but I think just because of the price of the good builds, we're going to go to normal guns with this. By the time you build it into a gun that is underrated, you're spending almost the same amount as just buying an M4 and kitting that, or buying a SCAR and kitting that. So I think the 8R is just going to have to stay down here at normal guns. Next up, we've got the TX15. I'm sorry. I know there's some people who are going to disagree with that one. The TX15 is a very, very overpriced 8R. If you take a meta 8R build and then you take a meta TX15 build and put them side by side, number one, 90% of players will not be able to tell the difference. Number two, they literally shoot the same ammo. Number three, they are literally almost the same gun. And number four, the TX15 is just like double the price. Only because I put the TX15 there, we're going to change this barely worth using to barely worth using / buying. Just because I do think the guns here are very usable, but I would never buy them and use them. So I think we're going to condense this category into I would never buy them because I think they're barely worth using if we buy them. Yeah, we'll go with that. Next up on the list, we've got the AVT-40. This is the new gun in the game. It shoots 7.62x54R ammo, which is the same ammo as a Mosin. It hits extremely hard. It's pretty much a sniper rifle. It is extremely underrated. I mean, let's be honest here. This is a fully automatic Mosin. Whether you are naked or you're wearing a slick and an Alton, this gun right here is going to absolutely demolish you up close. There's just no questions asked about that. It is an extremely underrated gun in the game, and the only reason I'm not putting it as one of the best guns in the game is because it hasn't been in here long enough for me to really see what it can do. So for right now, this is an underrated gun and probably one of the most underrated guns on this list. And then right up next to it, we've got its little baby brother, the SVT, which is pretty much going to be a single fire version of the AVT. Again, underrated gun in Tarkov. This is a semi-automatic Mosin, shooting 7.62x54 ammo. I don't even know that some of you guys can comprehend how disgusting that is to fight against. These two right here are just extremely gnarly guns. And next up, we've got the 7.62x51 Vepr Hunter. This is the VPO 101 or whatever it's called. And we're going to have to put this gun as another normal gun in Tarkov. This is the one you grab off of scavs. It's just a semi-automatic 7.62x51. The issue is there's not many modifications you can do to it, and it's kind of just a big, bulky, it's like you're shooting a boat paddle. It's a good gun. You can win some really cool fights with it, but other than that, it's just not that practical to use raid after raid after raid. And right after that, we've got the OP SKS 7.62x39, one of the better calibers in the game. We're going to have to put the OP SKS as underrated. The OP SKS is an absolute powerhouse early to mid wipe, and once you unlock BP ammo, it still carries very well into the late wipe. Super cheap to kit, super easy to use. And then you've got its baby brother SKS right here, same gun, same caliber. The problem with the normal SKS is you just can't do as many modifications to it, so it makes it not as usable as the OP SKS. You're pretty much stuck to just really bad sights, really bad ergo, really bad stats. So therefore, I'm going to put the normal SKS as barely worth buying or using. The OP SKS is only like 10 or 20,000 rubles more, and I think it's significantly better of a gun. And next, we've got the VPO 136. This is the 7.62 single fire AK. This gun goes straight to barely worth using or buying. Although it is single fire 7.62, just like the OP SKS, it's going to cost you a lot more to buy it and kit it out than it will to just buy an OP SKS, and they're essentially going to be the same gun in the end. But for the rubles you're going to be spending to get it how you want it, there's just better options higher up on the list. Then right behind that one, we've got the VPO 209. And I'm actually gonna slide this one in here to normal guns above the 7.62 version for one reason. You unlock APM ammo at a very low level, and 3.66 APM ammo is an absolute powerhouse ammo early to mid wipe. You can put people down with this gun very quickly. I would even almost go as far as to say that this gun is underrated in the game. You know, most people talk down on this one until they realize the amount of damage that it can do with the ammo you're able to buy at low levels. I'm actually gonna slide this one up to, it's halfway underrated, halfway normal. We're gonna keep it right there. And next up, we've got the SAG 545. This is going to be your single fire kind of DMR Marksman Rifle 545 gun. I'm going to put this one as underrated. It's super cheap to modify. It handles really well. It's going to be just like your other AKs, and it's going to shoot that 545 ammo. So if you've got access to something like BT or BS, is a really good mid to long range gun. The next group of guns we've got going on the list are the dedicated Marksman Rifles. These are going to be your SR25, your M1A, your SVD, your 338 Mjolnir, however you say that damn word, your RSAS, your G28, and the VSS. And we'll kick it off with the SR25. SR25, one of the best guns in the game. The amount of modifications available for this gun are just ridiculous. It's good. You can buy this gun, just put a scope on it as is, and it's good. You can build the meta build, and it's really good. And in my opinion, it's one of the best long-range guns in the game, and it does really well up close and mid-range as well. The SR25 is probably one of the most well-rounded guns in Tarkov. It is literally usable in almost every situation. Next, we've got the M1A. M1A for me, I hate to do this, bro. It's overrated. M1 is overrated. Hear me out. There are some really good builds for the M1. If you have the 50-round magazines, one of the best guns in the game. If you do not have the 50-round magazines, it's staying right here at overrated. It's expensive to modify. The only way to get the good build is to change the whole stock on it, and then you've got to put all your attachments on it. It's clunky, it's chunky, it's long, it's huge, it's heavy. Do I need to keep going? It's essentially the SR25's fat older brother. Next up, we've got the SVD. This gun's going straight into underrated. It's easy to build, it's easy to use. It shoots 7.62 by 54 ammo, which is one of the strongest sniping rounds in the game. And most people honestly just like to hate on this one because it's an early game gun. And then they get a little toxic and biased because you have to use it for one of the later game tasks. But honestly, if you build this gun outright, it's one of the more fun mid to long range guns to use. Then we've got the Mark 18 Mjolnir. The Mark 18 Mjolnir. This gun, normal gun, bro. You can't change my mind. It shoots 338 Lapua. That's the only thing it has going for it. Recoil sucks. Gun, expensive. Modifications, more expensive. I mean, the thought of a semi-automatic 338 sounds like it should be really high on the list, but when you build this gun and see how expensive it is to build, and then you see the recoil that it has, there's a very good reason why a lot of good players in Tarkov do not run this gun. Okay, you know, after I think about it a little bit, let me stop tripping. We're gonna put this in as overrated. When I look at it beside all these guns, I realize I'm tripping. But it is still overrated, and everything else I said still stands. So, moving on. Next up, we've got the RSAS. You guys aren't gonna like this one, bro. Overrated. Not only is it overrated, it is probably one of the most overrated guns in the game. I'm gonna tell you why, though. All the RSAS is a more expensive SR25. You cannot convince me that a meta RSAS is worth more than a meta SR. It does have slightly lower recoil than the SR25 does, but once you start to add up the price that you're paying for that little bit of recoil, it's just a minimal difference. And I don't actually think there's any situation in Tarkov where I would choose to buy and build an RSAS before buying and building an SR25. So take that as you wish. The next gun we're looking at is the G28, and just like the RSAS, it's going straight overrated. Don't get me wrong, the gun is good, but like I said with the RSAS, the SR25 is pretty much the same gun. The G28 is just going to come with a higher price tag. Again, the recoil is slightly lower, but once you compare meta G28 to meta SR25 or to the meta RSAS, the differences are just barely even going to be worth talking about. So in a nutshell, it's just another expensive SR25. And the last marksman rifle we're going to look at is the VSS. The VSS is essentially just a shittier version of the Val, and because of that, we're throwing it down here with the normal guns. It has potential to be really good, but at the price you're going to pay for it, you might as well buy a Val. And I'm actually not extremely sure why the VSS is even in the game. It's like buying a Val from eBay. And yeah, I think it's a normal gun. Now it's time we get some pistols on the list, and I need to be upfront and honest. A lot of these pistols are about to go in the same category because most of them shoot the same caliber ammo, and the only differences are going to come down to magazine sizes and front and rear sights. The USP-45, barely worth using or buying. It's shooting 45 ACP ammo. There's a few SMGs on the next list that cost the same amount as this gun and are significantly better than this gun, so it's barely worth using or buying. The Shrimp pistol, we're going to put this one as a normal gun. It shoots 9x21 ammo, slightly better than most of the other pistols on the list. The ammo can actually save your life just a little bit, so we're going to put it as a normal gun. The PB pistol is fully automatic, shoots 9x18, but let's be honest here. It's going to be our first worst in the game gun. I mean, this thing sucks. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. The APS, another 9x18 pistol. Again, ammo sucks, therefore the gun sucks. One of the worst guns in the game. The P226R, barely worth using or buying. 9x19 ammo, not really gonna save your life too much. Same can be said with the Glock pistol. 9x19 ammo, not gonna save your life very much. The TT pistol, the ammo's awkward, the ammo sucks. Another one of the worst guns in the game. The PM pistol, right down here beside it, 9x18 ammo, sucks. And here we've got two of the 1911 pistols. I don't know why I have two of them on this list, but we're gonna rank both of them as the worst in the game. The mag sizes are just very small. They shoot 45 ACP, which is the same as the USP 45, but the magazines are smaller. Therefore, there's no reason to use these over something like the USP. Next up, we've got the Glock 18C. This is the full auto version of the Glock, and we're gonna put this up here as normal guns because if you put a drum magazine with 9mm ammo in this thing, it is essentially going to turn this gun into a 50-round point fire shredding machine, and therefore I think it deserves a spot up here with the normal guns. It's probably one of the more useful pistols in Tarkov. M9A3, again 9x19. We're going to barely worth using or buying just because of the mag size and the fire modes. This little 9mm revolver, bruh. This is best gun overall. Now let's stop playing. Worst in the game. Worst pistol in the game by a long shot. I mean, let's be honest here. This thing's a revolver, so it's got slow rate of fire, and it holds 6 rounds of 9x19. I'd be doing us a favor if I just deleted this one off the list entirely. Next up's the RSH-12. This is the Ash 12 pistol. Bruh, this thing is disgusting. This is severely underrated in Tarkov. I mean, you can put a rifle scope on this pistol and you're shooting Ash 12 ammo. Hey, if we're being honest, this thing's almost as good as the Ash 12. Definitely an underrated gun in Tarkov. Next up, the Glock 17. This is going to be just falling in here in line with all the other pistols. It's just a 9x19mm pistol. Same can be said with the Glock 19X. The 5.7 pistol, I think, can deserve a spot with the normal guns. It shoots 5.7x28 ammo. This is my favorite secondary to run with a sniper just because it does have the firepower to kill PMCs somewhat easily. So yeah, I definitely think that it can grab a spot right here with the normal guns. The PL-15 is another 9x19 pistol, gonna go right in here with barely worth using or buying. You see a trend with the 9x19 pistols. They're decent if you're fighting an undergeared player in a 1v1, but they're not gonna keep you alive for long. And last, we've got the 357 Magnum pistol, and I think if you've got good enough ammo and you're somewhat used to this gun, we can put it in here with the normal guns. It's a weird gun to get used to, but it's not bad with the right ammo. I cluttered our chart up just a little bit, so I'm gonna take a second to resize some things and get us some space in here. Alright, we should have enough space now to finish this thing out. Next up is going to be our SMGs. First off, we've got the MCX 300 Blackout. If you know how to handle the recoil of this gun, the ammo is really good, the build is really good, and it's a really fun SMG to use. I think that it is one of the more underrated guns in the game. The only reason I'm not putting it as one of the best guns overall is it's really tough to get the good ammo for it. Next up's the PPSH. Hear me out, bro. I know a lot of people would put this as one of the worst guns in the game. I'm going to put it one slot higher for one reason that a lot of people do not know. The PPSH cannot jam. I'm serious. This is the only gun in Tarkov that cannot, will never jam. You can shoot the 75-round magazine. You can shoot 10 of them. The gun will not misfire. And for that reason alone, and the fact that it has 70-round drum magazines, we're gonna put it just a little bit higher than the worst guns in the game. Next up, we've got the PP19. I'm going to put the PP19 as a normal gun. It's fully automatic, shoots 9x19mm ammo, and it's significantly better than most of these pistols. This was one of the SMGs I was talking about whenever I said you can literally buy a cheap SMG that is better than your pistols. If you're running any of these 9x19mm pistols, stop using those and just buy a PP19 because you have the ability to go full auto, the ergonomics are almost the same, and the recoil is a lot more controllable. So for reasons of it being a good secondary, I'm going to put it right here with the normal guns. And then you've got the Saiga 9, which is essentially the single fire version of the PP19. Because it's single fire, because it's 9mm, and because it's more expensive than most of the 9mm pistols, one of the worst guns in the game. Next up, you've got the MP9. This thing is rocking one of the fastest fire rates in Tarkov, but it's only 9x19mm, so I would say it's underrated, but I think I'm gonna have to go down here to the normal guns with it, just because of the ammo that it shoots. Next up, we've got the P90. You guys aren't gonna like where I'm putting this one. Overrated. I think the P90 is extremely expensive to build. It's expensive to run. The ammo's expensive. The magazines are expensive. It kills super quick, and it is one of the better SMGs in Tarkov, but because it's so expensive to build and use and still is only shooting small SMG or pistol rounds, I can't give it the title as one of the best guns in the game. And I'm gonna say the same thing right now about the MP7. MP7 is overrated. Again, super good SMG early to mid wipe, but the ammo falls off very hard mid to late wipe. It's fun to use, it's got one of the better recoils in the game, and it can kill players really easily. But once you start to hit that mid wipe shelf, it falls off hard. Next up, we've got the SR2M SMG. This is the new SMG that got released about midways through last wipe. This gun right here, underrated. It shoots 9x21 ammo. It's got an extremely fast fire rate, and it does a lot of damage very quickly. The recoil is a little bit crazy, but if you can learn how to control that, this is one of the better SMGs in Tarkov. And now we've got the Vector 9mm and the Vector 45 ACP. You know, as much as I hate to do this, I'm throwing both of these SMGs, the 9mm and the 45 ACP, as two of the best guns in Tarkov. 9mm doesn't really have the firepower to kill PMCs, but it does have the option for the 50-round magazines, and 50 rounds of 9mm at one of the fastest fire rates in the game is absurd. Same can be said with the 45 ACP Vector. You've only got the option with 33 round magazines, but you're shooting 45 ACPs, and if you load that down with AP ammo, you're essentially just mag dumping a PMC, and there's no questions asked, they're dead. Because of the fire rates that both of these guns have, they are extremely deadly up close. Next up's the UMP45, shoots 45 ACP ammo, slow fire rate, small magazines. You can mod it a decent bit, but because of the mag size and the ammo that it shoots, we're gonna have to just put this one in here as a normal gun. It's a fun SMG to use, but there's nothing special about it, and you're just gonna start to struggle to kill players with it mid to late wipe. Next up's the MPX. This is also shooting 9x19 ammo. You've got a couple different mag options for it, some 50-round drums, a lot of attachments you can put on it. It's pretty cheap to run. The 9x19 ammo kind of sucks, like we've been saying this whole time, but it's got a fast fire rate and an easy recoil. So for those reasons alone, I think this gun's underrated. It's one of the more popular SMG options that people are running. Now we've got the Keter B. For all the rats that are watching this video, first off, I dislike you guys, bro. Second off, I'm gonna rank your gun in a spot that's gonna make you love me. Keter B is underrated. People love to hate the Keter because it's a rat gun. This little rinky-dinky 30,000 ruble gun can kill a PMC in less than 8 shots. And the only reason that people like to hate on the Keter is because they got ratted with it once or twice. But in all reality, this gun is disgusting and it is extremely underrated. Next up's the AK-74. I'm just gonna put the AK-74 as a normal gun. I know there's some meta builds you can run with it. You can get it down to be pretty controllable, but I just think that the 545 AK full platform is a lot better to use than the SMG, and it's gonna cost about the same amount of rubles. I'm just not sure I could rank the AK-74 next to the full size whenever the full size is boasting better recoil and better range. And then you've got your MP5. Again, the MP5 is kind of a powerhouse 9x19 SMG. I'm going to put it in here as underrated. I think the MP5 falls off pretty hard towards the late wipe, but it does have the option for 50-round mags, and it also has very good recoil and a super fast firing rate. It's a very versatile SMG. And last, we've got the STM-9. This is the single-fire 9mm SMG. If I'm being honest, it's kind of a fun gun to use. If you haven't just played some raids for fun with it, you should probably try that. Put a 2X on it and just kit this thing out. It is one of the most fun guns that I've used in Tarkov, but it still sucks. So we're going to throw this as barely worth using or buying. It's pretty much the same thing as this Saiga 9 is, but you've got the option for more attachments. You can get the recoil lower. You can actually get it to somewhat of a usable state. And next, we've got our bolt action rifles. We're going to start right here at the bottom with this break open elephant gun. This is the MP18. Is shooting 7.62x54R ammo. The problem is it is single fire, like actually single fire. You have to shoot the gun, break the gun open, put another round in, close the gun, re-shoulder the gun. It's got like 4 whole seconds between shots. It's like a rhinoceros gun, dude. It's one of the worst guns in the game. Next, we've got this 366 VPO. This is an underrated sniper. This is a very underrated sniper. It's not going to reach out super long distance, but it shoots 366 ammo. And like I said earlier, you unlock APM ammo at a very low level. And because of the APM ammo, this is probably the best budget sniper in Tarkov. It's only got room for 1 attachment and you can put a scope on it. So it's super cheap to run and it does a lot of damage with the right ammo. Next, we've got the 338 Lapua. Another hot take here. As a sniper, it is probably the best sniper in the game. As an overall gun, it's overrated, dude. It's expensive. It's big, it's bulky, it's clunky, chunky. 338 ammo is not cheap. The whole gun is not cheap. This is the sniper you run when you have a lot of rubles and you just feel like burning rubles for no reason. But I do have to admit, it is really fun to use it and it can one-tap PMCs right in the chest. So for that reason alone, we're gonna mix it. We're gonna go as an in-between. It is one of the best guns in Tarkov, but it is also very overrated. So we're gonna put it right here in the middle. And then you've got your SV98. SV98 normal gun. It's an expensive sniper to build and mod, and it's actually got some of the worst stats out of all the snipers. Next up's the T5000. This is shooting 7.62x51. T5000's going as one of the best snipers in Tarkov, and there's a reason for that. The T5000 fully kitted boasts the highest ergonomics of any sniper in the game. It handles extremely well. If you don't believe me, go check the stats for yourself. It's like 50 something. That pretty much means that the gun does not handle like a big bulky sniper. It handles similar to an AR, and for that reason alone, it's my favorite sniper in Tarkov, and I think I would have to rank it as the best overall sniper in the game. But coming in right close behind it is the DVL. We're also going to put the DVL as one of the best guns in Tarkov. If you have not shot a suppressed DVL, this thing makes 0 noise. I'm serious, it is one of the quietest guns in the game. You can sit in a sniper spot and just absolutely pin down a squad and they never know where you're at. And also the ergonomics of the DVL are very high and it's a pretty cheap gun to build. So for those reasons, it's one of the best guns in Tarkov. Next up's the M700. M700's going right down here beside the SV98. I prefer to use the M700 over the SV98, but it shoots 7.62x51 ammo, which is worse than the SV98. Although the DVL and the TX shoot the same ammo, the M700 is just not as lenient on ergonomics and recoil as the other 2 snipers I put up here, which is the reason why the M700 is ranked a lot lower than these 2 snipers up here. And the last sniper we've got is the Mosin. Mosin goes straight to underrated. A lot of people hate on the Mosin because it's cheap, it's ugly, but there are some really good modifications for the Mosin. You can turn the Mosin into one of the better snipers in the game for really cheap. And it's shooting 7.62x54 ammo, which is one of the strongest ammos in the game. You can quite literally use this gun as a Timmy, and you can also use this gun as a Chad. So yeah, I think it's underrated. The shotguns are going to be the last group of weapons we're going to look at on this list. Starting up here at the top, we've got the Taz. I don't even need to comment on this one, bro. One of the worst guns in the game. This thing's a bolt action 20 gauge shotgun. If you guys have used it, you already know that this is very properly ranked. And then there's actually going to be a few shotguns that we're going to rank the same. We're just going to pull most of these pumps and semi-automatic shotguns in as normal guns. Now, the reason I ranked these all the same, each one of them have their own little specific builds and little things you can do to them, and most players have a certain preference between which one they like more. Some of them have more mag capacity, some of them have a better fire rate. It's all going to be personal preference, but these 5 shotguns as a whole are generally just pretty good guns to use. They're not underrated, they're not overrated, but they're definitely worth buying and using. It's no secret that shotguns do devastating amounts of damage in Tarkov, so you can't really go right or wrong with any of these 5 options. And I just realized I forgot one. Let's drag him in here as well. So 6 options. All of these are going to be at a similar price point. They shoot the same ammo, and the modifications are going to be somewhat similar between the 6. And then you've got the KS-23. I'm going to get so much hate for this one. KS-23 is overrated. Clunky, chunky, dunky. If you know how to hit your shots, it's great. It can kill even the fattest PMCs in one shot. But if you are not good with the gun, you're probably gonna fall off pretty hard with it. It gets a lot of hype because the ammo it shoots is really good, but in general, the shotgun's just not as good as it's hyped up to be. And therefore, I think it's overrated. And I rarely actually ever choose to use the KS-23 over most of these other guns. But I am still very scared of people who are using it. So I'm not saying it's a bad gun, but I am saying I do think it's overrated. And then we've got the revolver shotgun. We're just gonna pull this right down here by the ties. Again, we don't need to talk about it. It sucks. And the double barrel shotgun is also gonna go down here because it sucks. But no, really, the revolver shotgun and the double barrel shotgun, there's just so many other shotgun options in the game. Why would you choose to do this to yourself? And the last shotgun on the list is the Saiga. The Saiga shotgun is an extremely underrated shotgun and probably the best shotgun in Tarkov. You've got the option to kit this thing out. You've got all kinds of sights, suppressors, grips you can put on it, flashlights, lasers, and then you've got the option of the 20-round drum mags. And those 20-round drum mags are what makes this thing deadly as shit. You can just point fire a hallway and just as fast as you can click, just spray the hallway down. You can quite literally kill 3 or 4 PMCs in that one drum mag. It is a disgusting shotgun to use. And it's also going to be the last gun that we put into any of these categories because we're done with the list now. There were some pretty hot takes in this list, but at least they were honest hot takes. And I feel like I need to mention that not everybody's list is going to be the same. I tried to keep my own bias out of this as much as possible, but a lot of Tarkov players, myself included, have preferences based on how they play the game. And I've pretty much played Tarkov the same for the last 2,000 hours, so I rank these guns based on how I play the game and how I see the guns fit. If you guys think that certain guns should have gone in different spots, let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, hit the like button so that more people can see it. And if you like my content or other content like this, hit that sub button so that you can stay up to touch with the future videos. I'm sure you guys have been able to tell the whole time the sun's starting to come up and I'm ready to hit the bed. So I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, baby.